A tense night shift takes a vile turn when Officer Daniels spits on a calm black man outside a downtown precinct. The man's silence unsettles Daniels more than he admits. A ripped ID hits the ground, but the man's last words flip the power. In the shadows, someone watches. "Don't stand there looking at me. We don't take trash like you in here." Cold air crawls through the cracked glass doors of the downtown precinct. Yellow streetlights flicker overhead, buzzing with moths too stubborn to die. The lot smells like stale oil and cheap aftershave. Officer Daniels shifts his weight, boots scraping the asphalt as he towers over the lone figure standing by the steps. He wears his arrogance like a freshly pressed uniform. The other officers linger behind the doors, peeking through blinds. No one dares step out, not yet. To them, Daniels is untouchable, a guard dog with a shiny badge, a family name, and a short fuse. The man in front of him says nothing. His suit is dark, tailored sharp enough to make Daniels' rumpled shirt look like a thrift store hand-me-down. He holds out an ID, clean, official, heavy with quiet authority. Daniels snatches it with 2 fingers. "ID, huh?" He doesn't look at it. He spits. A glob lands on the man's cheek, slides down the collar of his coat. The man doesn't flinch. He only watches Daniels, eyes calm, almost pitiful. That calm makes Daniels' chest tighten in. A way he can't name. Inside, Officer Miller turns away from the glass. "He shouldn't push him," Miller mutters, but his voice dies in the stale hallway. Daniels rips the ID in 2. Paper flutters to the ground, soaking in a puddle of winter. Slush. He steps closer, breath hot and foul with stale coffee. "You think a piece of plastic makes you somebody? You people." He stops himself, tongue catching on an old slur that flickers behind his teeth. He smirks instead. He wants to see the man break. He wants yelling. He wants fear. But the man only lifts a hand, wipes the spit with a silk handkerchief from his pocket. He folds it once, tucks it back inside like a priest putting away holy cloth. Daniels hates him for that. A slow grin twists on Daniels' lips. "You lost, boy? This city doesn't run on your kind of dreams. You want to make trouble. Do it somewhere else. Or maybe I'll make you." He stops. The man leans in, his voice low, rich, unshaken. "Tell me," he says softly, "how does it feel to spit up, officer?" Daniels laughs, but the sound cracks at the edges. He glances back. 2 rookies hover by the doorway, pretending to check their radios. One scribbles notes. They all saw. The man steps past him, slow, unbothered by the half-torn badge on Daniels' chest. He bends, picks up the ripped ID, smooths it out with deliberate care, as if it still matters more than any uniform here. Under the streetlight, the wet paper glimmers. A hint of a seal, an official crest, something half-hidden but heavy with promise. Daniel's smirk fades. He opens his mouth, but no words come. A sudden breeze pushes between them, warm despite the winter bite. Somewhere down the block, a cruiser's engine hums awake, like the city itself shifting to watch this moment. The man leans closer, voice slicing the night. "Tomorrow, we'll see whose name's on that door." A single word hangs unspoken in Daniel's mind. "Chief, it can't be." He tells himself it's a bluff, a trick, another suit trying to scare a beat cop. But the man's eyes, calm, pitying, say otherwise. Behind them, the blinds snap shut. Radios crackle. For a heartbeat, the precinct holds its breath. Man steps back, adjusts his collar where the spit stain dries like old paint. He turns, coat fluttering like a banner before a storm. His footsteps echo down the concrete steps, each one hammering something cold and final into Daniel's chest. In the shadows near the corner, an unmarked car idles. Inside, Deputy Chief Rollins watches it all unfold, one finger tapping the wheel. He smiles, not at Daniels, but at the man's retreating figure. About damn time. Rollins mutters to himself and shifts the car into gear. Daniels stands alone in the pale wash of yellow light, spit drying on another man's dignity, but the badge on his chest suddenly feels too small for his rage, too heavy for his fear. He kicks the torn ID into the gutter, but the name won't leave his mind. Tomorrow is coming. And Daniels isn't ready. The hallway feels narrower than usual. Stale coffee breath, burnt toast crumbs on someone's desk. All of it sharpens Daniels' headache. He stalks past the break room, boots thudding on cracked linoleum, ignoring the way conversations die when he passes. He knows they're talking about it. About him. Officer Miller stands by the vending machine, pretending to read a snack label. The rookie beside him, Chun, taps at his phone, thumb flicking over the screen like he's scrolling through a crime scene photo. But the screen shows something else, grainy footage, shaky but clear enough. Daniels lunges forward. Give me that. Chun jerks, the phone slipping from his grip. It clatters to the floor. Daniels picks it up, sees himself on the tiny screen. See the spit, the torn ID, the man's face calm and quiet under the streetlight. He hears his own voice, crude, sharp, slurred with contempt. He deletes it. Or tries to. But Chun mutters, it's already in the group chat. Miller winces. Daniels slams the phone into Chun's chest. Say one more word. Miller straightens, eyes darting to the open squad room. You think you can bury this? Half the city'll see it by noon. Daniels lowers his voice to a growl. You think you're clean? You were right behind me. You didn't stop it. Miller stiffens. I didn't spit on nobody. A door swings open at the far end. The squad room falls silent. A woman in plain clothes steps through, heels clicking like a gavel. Detective Marissa Lane, Internal Affairs Quiet Hammer. She holds a manila folder in her hand, sealed, stamped. Officer Daniels, she calls, voice even, eyes like cold glass. Inside, now. Daniels squares his shoulders, but the stiffness can't hide the sweat at his hairline. He pushes past. Miller, who mutters something under his breath, a prayer or a curse. Inside the small interview room, the air is too warm. A single fan squeaks overhead. Lane sits opposite him, placing the folder on the table with the same care one might set down a loaded gun. She doesn't open it yet. Just studies him, taking in the twitch in his jaw, the redness creeping up his neck. Want to tell me what happened in the lot? Daniels shrugs. Trespasser, loitering, didn't listen. Lane's eyebrow arches. And the spit? He leans back, arms crossed. He was mouthing off. Provoked me. She tilts her head. Funny, the video doesn't show him saying a word until the end. And that ID, you know who he is? Danielle scoffs. Another lawyer. Or a journalist. Lane flips the folder open. Inside, a photo. Blurry but unmistakable. The man's face. A line of typed text beneath. Deputy Chief Nominee, internal transfer pending confirmation. Daniel's chest constricts. No, that's bullshit. Lane's smile is a scalpel. No, that's politics. She leans closer, voice dropping to a whisper only he can hear. You didn't just spit on a civilian, Daniels. You spit on the man who's replacing Chief Warren when he retires next week. Silence. The squeak of the fan sounds like a scream. Daniel's knee bounces under the table. Lane slides the folder back into her bag. He's not pressing charges yet. But the mayor's office wants a meeting. And guess who they asked for by name? Daniels tries to speak, but his mouth feels full of dry ash. Lane rises, smooths her blazer. Pack up. You're off patrol until further notice. He slams his fist on the table. You can't bench me. Her look kills the protest in his throat. I didn't. He did. She leaves him there, alone with the whirring fan, the suffocating heat, and the image of a calm man wiping spit from his collar like it was rain. In the hallway, Miller leans against the wall as Daniel storms past. He doesn't say anything. This time, he just watches, thumbs his badge, and wonders if maybe, just maybe, the order of things is finally about to change. Outside the precinct, a black sedan pulls up to the curb. The back door opens. The same man steps out, coat crisp, shoulders square, eyes sharp as a scalpel. He holds a slim folder of his own, not to threaten, but to sign. He glances up at the precinct's peeling sign above the doors. The place? He'll soon call his own. Then he steps inside, the cold wind carrying the whisper of tomorrow behind him. The conference room feels colder than the parking lot ever did. Frosted glass panels block the morning sun. A single pot of burnt coffee steams in the corner, ignored. The table is long, old wood, nicked with the ghosts of arguments that never left these walls. Chief Warren sits at the head. His uniform jacket drapes over his chair like a relic, 4 decades of service pinned to its sleeves. He drums his fingers on a faded folder, eyes locked on Daniels, who sits 2 chairs down, back rigid, sweat blooming under his collar. Daniels tries not to stare at the empty seat between them. The new chief isn't here yet, but his shadow stretches across every polished tile. Warren clears his throat. You know why you're here? Daniels' tongue sticks to his teeth. They told you lies. That video, it's twisted. He was, what? Warren interrupts. His voice is tired thunder, the weight of too many nights spent making excuses for men like Daniels. Did he strike you? Threaten you? What did he do that made you spit on him? Daniel's mouth opens, closes. He settles for shrugging like a sulking child. Warren sighs, leans back. The old chair creaks in protest. When I came up, this badge meant you kept your hate quiet. Maybe you didn't shake hands at the cookout, but you did your job. Now the world's different. Cameras everywhere. Internet everywhere. Your shame is everybody's breakfast. Daniel's fists clench under the table. You gonna cut me loose? The old man studies him. For a second, pity flickers across his eyes, then it's gone, replaced by something closer to regret. Daniels, I gave you too much rope because your father bled for this department. But his blood can't scrub your mouth clean. Warren lifts the folder, flips it open. Do you know what happens when the mayor calls me and says the city's done paying for hush money? Daniels glares at the wall behind Warren's head. I've got 10 years in uniform. You gonna flush that? For him? He spits the last word like poison. Warren's lip curls. Him? The man you spit on has more backbone than you ever learned to fake. He's done more for this city in court than your badge ever did on the street. And now, he's gonna sit in my chair. Daniel's voice rises. He's not even a cop. The old chief laughs, a dry, sad sound that echoes off glass. That's exactly why they want him. He's not poisoned by these walls. A knock at the door stills them both. A secretary pokes her head in, eyes flicking between the 2 men. He's here. Daniel stiffens. Warren nods. Send him in. The door swings open, and there he is, the man from the lot. The spit stain gone, replaced by a tie so sharp it looks like it could cut through iron. He carries a leather folder, closes the door behind him with deliberate calm. He greets Warren with a polite nod. Daniels doesn't even get that. Warren gestures to the empty seat. Sit. The new chief, not quite sworn yet, but more powerful than either man wants to admit, stays standing. He sets his folder down and rests his hands on the back of the chair, eyes fixed on Daniels like a surgeon studying an open wound. Officer Daniels. His voice is soft, not warm. I'm here to offer you the dignity you did not offer me. Daniels scoffs. Oh yeah? What's that? The man lifts a single sheet of paper from the folder, slides it across the table. Daniels doesn't touch it, but he reads enough to feel his throat tighten. Voluntary resignation. Quiet exit. Minimal press. No badge. But no cell either. Warren watches them both, silent as a priest at confession. Daniels shoves the paper back. I'm not signing that. The new chief leans in, eyes calm, voice calm, but every word slices at Daniels' pride. Then tomorrow, Internal Affairs will finish what I start. You'll walk out in cuffs, not uniform. This is the only door I'm offering you. Take it while it's still open. Daniels glances at Warren. The old chief silences answer. Enough. You can't. Daniels starts, but the man cuts him off. I already did. He picks up his folder, nods to Warren, and leaves the room without looking back. For a moment, Daniels thinks he sees Miller's reflection in the frosted glass, watching, phone in hand. Another rumor waiting to grow teeth. Warren pushes the resignation paper closer to Daniels. Make your choice, son. Outside the conference room, the new chief walks the hall, and every pair of eyes that meets his does not look away. The precinct at dusk has its own language, ringing phones, rustling case files, boots echoing down two bright hallways. Tonight, though, the usual noise has a heartbeat underneath it. Hush-hush murmurs that bloom and die when footsteps draw near. In the break room, Officer Chun sits with his feet propped on a cracked plastic chair, phone in hand. The same clip. Daniels spitting, the torn ID, the calm man, loops on silent repeat. Across from him, Miller sips stale coffee, eyes locked on the door. You think he'll really run this place? Chun asks, voice barely above the hum of the soda machine. Miller nods. Not think. He will. And when he does, you'd better remember who watched and who spoke up. Chun shrugs. I didn't do either. That's the problem. Outside, the squad room hums with its false normal. Forms stamped, radio squawking, dispatchers calling in reports. But the tension hums louder than the static, near the back. Daniel sits in his tiny shared office, really just a repurposed storage closet with a chip door that never shuts right. His boots are off. His shirt clings with stale sweat. His phone glows in his palm as he scrolls through contacts, thumb pausing over old names. He hits dial. Yeah? A voice crackles through, low, familiar, edged with the same arrogance that Daniels wears like cologne. Garrett. It's Daniels. Daniels. Haven't heard your sorry voice in months. Daniels swallows. I need a favor. A dry chuckle. You? Need something? Must be bad. It's nothing big. Daniels lies. You still got that liar, buddy? The one who buries stories. Silence, then a rustle. Garrett's voice drops lower. You in trouble, Danny? Daniels pinches the bridge of his nose, rage pulsing under his skin. No, just a video. Out of context. I need it gone. Garrett hums, amused. You think the press'll care about context? I can pay. That's cute. The laugh. Scratches like sandpaper. You still think it's about money. Daniels grips the phone tighter. What's that mean? It means you pissed off the wrong guy. This new chief, he's got more pull than the mayor right now. Whole city wants to see you fry. Daniels spits on the floor. I kept my mouth shut for you. You owe me. No, Garrett says, voice suddenly colder than a gun barrel. I don't owe you anything. If anything, you owe me for keeping you in uniform when your first complaint hit Internal Affairs. Daniels goes quiet. The static on the line feels louder than his pulse. Garrett sighs, mock pity. Do yourself a favor. Sign whatever paper they slide under your nose. Or pray he's too busy fixing real problems to bury you deeper. The line goes dead. Daniels slams the phone down so hard the cheap plastic cracks. He runs a hand through his hair, sweat sticking his shirt to his back. A soft knock on the half-shut door jolts him. It's Miller. What? Daniels snaps. Miller steps inside, closes the door behind him with careful hands. His eyes dart to the cracked phone, then back to Daniels. You know he's here, right? Daniels' laugh comes out dry and sharp. Yeah, I know. Miller clears his throat. You got a plan? Daniels glares. Yeah, I'm gonna remind him who runs these streets. Miller's face barely twitches. Maybe you didn't notice, but the street's already running from you. Before Daniels can spit another threat, Miller's out the door, the latch clicking softly behind him. Downstairs, the new chief stands in the main hallway, sleeves rolled, tie loosened just enough to make the stiff uniforms around him sweat. A circle of rookies hover at a polite distance, curious, nervous, unsure if they should nod or salute. Or speak at all. He nods first. Evening, he says. Voice warm but clipped, the kind of tone that makes small talk feel like an interview. Officer Chen drifts closer. Chief, Ewich, sir. Welcome. The man studies him. Not the badge, not the patch, but the eyes. Chen shifts under the weight of it. You the one filming that clip? The chief asks, calm as a question about the weather. Chen freezes. Lies form, melt, die behind his lips. He nods once, a small smile. Good. Keep your eyes open. Truth's expensive around here. He claps Chun's shoulder once. Not heavy, not friendly, just enough to remind him whose truth now counts. As he steps away, the chief's phone buzzes in his pocket. One glance at the screen brings a flicker of steel to his eyes, a silent promise that tomorrow's sunrise won't find this building unchanged. Upstairs, Daniel stares at the resignation paper on his desk. He doesn't sign it yet, but the pen sits ready. The shadows in the precinct stretch long as the new name on the door waits to be carved in brass. The briefing room hums with stale air and anxious breath. The table is long, scarred from years of elbows slamming down during half-truth confessions and unspoken deals. Today, it's different. No donuts, no jokes, no forced small talk to soften the blow of the day's crime stats. Instead, they sit stiff, back straight. Miller, Lane from Internal Affairs, Chun lingering at the back with a clipboard he doesn't need. And at the head of the table, the man they once called that suit but now must call chief. He doesn't wear the badge yet, not officially pinned, but it sits on the table in front of him. A polished silver shield, its shine making a few men avert their eyes. He picks it up once, feels its weight, then sets it back down. I want you to look at this, he says. His voice is calm, but something in it makes the room feel smaller. How many of you know what this badge cost to make? Silence. Chairs creak. No one answers. $17.23, he continues. Stamped metal. Plastic backing. Replaceable. But what it stands for, that's not so cheap. Lane folds her arms. She's heard a dozen chiefs deliver empty speeches. But this one's tone makes her lean forward, waiting. When that badge is on your chest, you wear every lie, every truth, every mistake that came before you. And when you stain it, you stain all of us. A cough from the far side. Daniels, half in the shadows near the door, arms crossed. He wasn't called to this meeting. He invited himself. The chief doesn't look at him yet. He keeps his eyes on Miller. You were there when the clip was shot. Miller nods once. I didn't record it. I didn't stop it either. Why? Miller's jaw tenses. Because I knew if I stepped in, I'd be on the bench too. The chief nods. Good. Honesty costs less than silence. Next time, you'll pay up front or you won't be wearing that shield. Miller's eyes flick to the badge on the table, then back. He nods. Now the chief turns to Daniels, still hovering like an unwelcome ghost. You've got something to say, Officer Daniels? Daniels pushes off the wall, struts forward like he owns the carpet under his boots. Yeah, I do. He snatches up the badge, the one meant for the chief, holding it between two fingers like it's dirty. You think this gives you the right to lecture men who've been in these streets while you sat in a courtroom? Lane's eyebrow twitches. She leans back, arms still folded, waiting to see if Daniels will bury himself deeper. The chief doesn't flinch. Put it down, Daniels sneers. Why? So you can wave it around on TV? Pretend you're one of us while you sit pretty in that corner office? You don't know this city. You don't know the filth. You think you'll change it by what? Firing me? A low hum rumbles through the table. Miller shifts uncomfortably. Chun lowers his clipboard, not even pretending to write anymore. The chief stands, calm as sunrise. He steps around the table, walks right up to Daniels until they're chest to chest. I know exactly what this city is, he says, voice soft but thick with iron. It's a place where good men hide in shadows so men like you can drag our name through the gutter. It's a place that calls itself clean while it sells filth under every streetlight. And it's a place that's about to remember whose city it really is. Daniels opens his mouth, but the chief snatches the badge back before he can speak. He sets it on the table again, steady, precise. You think you built something here? The chief asks. You didn't build. You routed the floorboards so men like you could hide under them. Now I'm tearing them up. He gestures at Lane. She slides a thin file across the table toward Daniels. His file, complaints, settlements, everything he thought buried under. A handshake and an envelope. Daniels doesn't reach for it. His eyes flick to Miller, then Chun, as if looking for someone to stand beside him. No one moves. The chief picks up the badge, holds it once more, then pins it to his chest himself. The tiny click echoes off the walls like a gavel striking marble. It's done, Lane says, her voice barely hiding a grin. Congratulations, Chief. Daniels opens his mouth. No words come out. Outside the briefing room, the night shift gathers near the lockers. They don't know details, not yet, but whispers crawl under every locked door. Daniels is done. The chief is here. It's real dot inside. The new chief adjusts the badge on his chest, then looks at the room, every eye locked on him. Tomorrow morning, he says, voice calm as a promise, we start cleaning house. The precinct's records room sits 3 floors down, buried under years of careless filing and deliberate forgetting. Fluorescent lights flicker overhead. Dust motes drift through stale air, swirling around rows of steel cabinets that groan. When opened, the new chief steps inside, alone. His coat is draped over his arm, tie loosened. He leaves the door open behind him, as if to remind the shadows that there's nowhere left to hide. He runs a hand along the metal drawers' dents. Here, scratches there, stories hidden behind rusted locks. He finds the cabinet marked personnel, closed, and pulls it open. A stale draft greets him like a confession. Inside, folders. Some thick as old phone books, others thin as rumors. He pulls one at random, a name from the past, flips it. Open skims. Complaints written in pen so faded the truth feels like a ghost. A young officer's misconduct. The signature of a captain who's long retired to Florida. Sunshine and fat pensions. He smiles, not with warmth but with the grim satisfaction of a surgeon finding the source of an infection. Upstairs, Daniels lurks by the locker room, watching men and women walk past him with polite silence that cuts deeper than any insult. Miller stands at his own locker, slipping paperwork into his bag. He catches Daniels' glare in the metal. Mirror bolted to the door. Got something to say? Miller asks, calm. Daniels spits on the floor near Miller's boots. You think you're safe, standing behind him? Miller shrugs, not even stepping away from the spit. Safe? Nah. Just tired of smelling rot. He closes his locker with a soft clang that echoes like finality. Sign the paper, Daniels, or don't. Either way, you're gone. Daniels sneers. You ever think he'll turn on you next? Miller pauses at the doorway, throws one glance back. If he does, I'll know I earned it. Daniels watches him leave, his reflection in the metal dented and warped. He hates how small he looks in it. Back in the records room, the chief keeps reading. Each file feels heavier than the last. One folder slips free, Daniels T. The same file Lane dropped in front of him earlier. Now he reads the parts they didn't bother to redact. Pages of misconduct. Thin lines of type. Excessive force. Racial slur. Settled out of court. Signed by old names who never thought the ink would turn to fire. He closes the file. His reflection stares back from the shiny cabinet handle. Calm eyes but coiled inside them, the storm that built his whole life. Behind him, footsteps. Light, careful. Lane steps in, a takeout coffee in her hand. She holds it out without a word. He accepts it with a quiet nod. You're making friends, she says dryly, gesturing at the scattered folders. Friends don't need secrets, he says, flipping open another file. He scans it. A name jumps out. A rookie back then, now a sergeant. Chun Lane catches the flicker in his eyes. You'll eat yourself alive trying to fix every old ghost. He closes the file, slides it back in the drawer. Not every ghost. Just the ones that still breathe. Lane leans against a metal cabinet, arms folded, watching him like she's weighing an argument she won't win. Daniels is cornered. He'll fight dirty. I know, the chief says. But a man like that only wins if you fight him on his floor. And your floor? He gestures to the door he left wide open. Sunlight. Daniel sits alone now, hunched at a desk piled with loose paper. The resignation form stares back at him. His pen taps the table. Over and over, a heartbeat gone sour. He hears footsteps behind him. Turns. Chen stands awkwardly, his clipboard clutched like a shield. What? Daniels barks. Chun clears his throat. They want your badge. Daniel scoffs, the sound like dry gravel. You come to take it off me, boy? Chun shakes his head. Not me. Lane wants it by end of shift. Says if you hand it in, they'll keep the press quiet. Daniels laughs. It comes out broken, forced. Quiet. You think that man upstairs wants quiet? Chun doesn't answer. He just watches Daniels tap the pen, the silence between them saying, more than any threat could. Finally, Daniels picks up his badge, turns it over in his palm like it's suddenly heavier than steel. His lips move, a prayer, a curse, then he pockets it again. Tell her she can come get it herself. Chun hesitates, then nods and leaves him alone. Daniels leans back, eyes flicking to the ceiling, to the floor above, where that calm man with the calm eyes is already digging up a decade of filth. Daniel smiles, small and mean. If they think he'll slip away quietly, they've forgotten who taught this place how to hide rot in plain sight. He flips the pen in his fingers, clicks it once, twice. The paper stays blank. Down in the records room. The new chief stacks the folders in a neat pile, closes the cabinet, and locks it. For a moment he stands in the humming silence, coffee cooling in his grip. Above him, footsteps echo. Daniels, pacing in circles he drew for himself. The chief breathes out, slow and steady. Tomorrow he'll open every drawer, and nothing hidden stays buried forever. Night slides across the precinct like ink spilling across an old map. Most of the city sleeps or pretends to, but inside, the hum of tension never shuts off. Radios crackle with routine dispatches, petty thefts, drunken calls. The usual humdrum that pretends the world isn't changing inside these brick walls. In the shadows of his tiny office, Daniel sits hunched over his old desktop, keys tapping. with frantic spite. His eyes flick from the dusty screen to the door, back again. On the monitor glows a single file, a grainy PDF that's been copied, hidden, protected by passwords no rookie would think to look for. A case from years back. The new chief, before the suit, before the fancy title, was just a public defender fighting a losing battle for a kid. Everyone called trash before they read a single line of testimony. The verdict had stung the city's pride then. The way he'd flipped an entire prosecution with a single witness they hadn't counted on. Daniel smirks. Heroes got dirt too, he mutters. He drags the file into an email window. The cursor hovers over send. For a second, his finger freezes, doubt crawling up his spine like cold water. Then he clicks. Message sent. 2 floors up, Miller. Steps out onto the back stairwell for a breath of air that doesn't taste like old paper and stale secrets. He scrolls his phone, the same video clip of Daniel's. Spitting has new company now. A headline from a third-rate blog. Incoming police. Chief hid botched murder trial. Miller reads it twice, then laughs once, dry and humorless. He really did it, he mutters. In a quiet hallway near the briefing room. The chief stands beside Lane, phone buzzing with the same link. He skims it. His jaw doesn't tighten. His eyes don't flinch. Lane watches him read every line. You want me to crush it? He shakes his head. No, let it breathe. She frowns. Bad optics stick, even if it's half true. It's true enough, he says, voice calm. And the truth is better under sunlight than rotting in Daniel's pocket. Lane's lips curl into something like respect. You think people care about the truth? The chief slips the phone into his pocket. No, I think they care about the lie more when they know who's lying. He steps away from her, down the hallway toward his office. He's still new. His name isn't even etched on the frosted glass yet. But tonight it feels more permanent than the badge on his chest. By midnight, the blog post hits local news. A talk radio station picks it up, twisting the old trial into clickbait that keeps the city awake. Social feeds overflow with half-facts, raw anger, and quiet questions. And yet, outside the precinct's front steps, a single figure appears. An older woman, gray hair wrapped in a bright scarf. She stands under the yellow streetlight, holding a sign. The truth matters. She's not loud. She doesn't chant. But when a passing patrol car slows, the rookie inside nods once before. Driving on. A ripple, small but alive. Back in his office, Daniels watches the news segment with shaking hands. He expects the comment section to burn the chief alive. But the words don't match the fire in his head. He saved my cousin. My brother walked free because he proved the cops lied. He knows what they hide. That's why they hate him. Daniel slams his fist on the desk so hard the mug beside him shatters. Coffee drips onto a pile of unpaid citations. He hears footsteps in the hallway, the shuffle of hesitant shoes that know they shouldn't be here. The door cracks open. Chun peeks in. Daniels barks. What? Chun flinches but doesn't back away. Lane wants your badge now. Daniel shoves back his chair, the wheels squealing on old tile. Tell her I'm busy. Chun stands his ground. For the first time since his rookie year, he doesn't look away. It's over. Daniels steps forward, nose to nose. You gonna make me? Chun's jaw twitches. He doesn't answer. But his silence says enough. It's not Daniel's building anymore. Not his secrets. Not his shadows. Daniels laughs, but the sound bounces back at him, small and sour. He brushes past Chun, shoulder checking him on the way out. Outside the precinct, a second sign joins the old woman's. Then a third. A college kid, a tired father, an off-duty paramedic, none of them shout. They just stand, quiet, Present. Inside, the chief stands by the front windows, watching them gather. His reflection stares back, coat off, sleeves rolled, eyes steady. Lane appears at his shoulder. You ready for tomorrow? He nods once. Tomorrow's the easy part. Tonight is what matters. Upstairs, Daniel storms back into his office. The paper on his desk, resignation agreement, waits with silent patience. This time, the pen doesn't hover. It scratches across the line like a confession that can't be taken back. By 5 a.m., the precinct's briefing room hums with low voices and tired boots scraping scuffed linoleum. The night shift trickles out, the day shift trickles in, but today, the overlap stays. No one wants to miss what happens next. Miller stands near the back, arms folded, watching the room fill like water rising in a cracked glass. Chun sits up front for once, clipboard ready but untouched, pen still capped. He's not pretending to take notes today. Near the door, Lane leans against the frame, eyes sharp under the harsh fluorescent light. She scans every face, reading the ones that fidget, the ones that dare to glare, the ones who keep their heads down, wondering if they're next. The new chief enters last. No fanfare, just the quiet shuffle of polished shoes on old tile. He carries no papers, no folders, just his badge pinned to his chest like a loaded truth. He doesn't stand behind the lectern. He stands in front of it, arms loose at his sides, letting the silence stretch until the last whispered rumor dies in the corners. Morning, he says, voice calm but loud enough to reach the back row. A few muttered replies, some nods, some eyes roll. He notes every reaction. He starts walking, slow, deliberate, pacing the aisle between rows of metal chairs bolted to the floor. He's not lecturing from above. He's walking among them, level, unavoidable. By now, you know who I am. You know what happened in that lot. You know what I stand for, or you think you do. No one moves. Even the grumpy veteran near the exit stops tapping his foot. The chief stops beside Chun, looks down at him. Officer Chun here filmed something ugly. Didn't bury it, didn't spin it. Just showed the truth. Some of you hate him for it. He looks up, eyes sweeping the room. Good. Hate the truth. Hate it enough to change it. A low rumble, an uncomfortable shuffle of boots on tile. He lets it hang. You think my job is to punish you? To make examples? He shakes his head. I'm not here to play warden. I'm here because this city paid too much for lies. Paid with lawsuits, protests, funerals, and headlines that made your families ashamed to wear this badge. He lifts his own badge, tapping it once. The soft click echoes like a gavel. Starting today, you don't hide rot under paperwork. You don't cover for your partner when he forgets who he swore to protect. You don't spit on a man's dignity and expect the shield to wash it clean. Someone near the back shifts, Daniel's old partner, Collins. He mutters something. Under his breath, Lane catches it. Her eyes flick, a warning. The chief ignores it for now. You want this badge to mean something again? He asks. It's not me you answer to. It's that mother who stands outside every night with a sign. It's that father who locks his door when you roll down his street. It's the kid who films you because he doesn't trust the word on your uniform. Miller lowers his eyes, arms folded tighter across his chest, not from shame, but relief. That someone finally says it out loud. The chief steps back to the front, standing where the lectern blocks him again, but he doesn't hide behind it. There are two kinds of men and women in this building. Those who'll help clean this house, and those who'll make me do it for them. Decide which one you are. The clock on the wall ticks loud enough to fill the silence. No one dares breathe too deep. Lane pushes off the door frame, stepping beside him. She holds up a small box, a plain cardboard thing that rattles when she shakes it. Daniel's badge. she says simply, then tosses it onto the lectern. It lands with a dull metallic thud that cuts through every thought in the room. The Chief's gaze sweeps them one last time. If you're next, and you know who you are, I suggest you save us all some time. He picks up Daniel's badge, holds it between thumb and forefinger, then drops it in a bin marked internal files. The small clink feels louder than any door slam. Outside, dawn bleeds over the rooftops. The woman with the scarf is still there, joined by a handful more, a father in work boots, a nurse on her way home from night shift, a teenager holding up a phone, streaming it all loud. The doors swing open as officers file out for patrol. Some nod at the small crowd. Some look away, but a few pause just long enough to really see the signs, to read the words, protect, serve, answer. Back inside, the chief stands alone for a moment as the room empties. Lane watches him with a rare softness in her voice. You think it'll stick? He adjusts the badge on his chest, eyes fixed on the open door. It will, he says quietly, or we'll tear out every floorboard until it does. By midnight, the precinct's garage is half lit, just enough yellow light to throw long. Shadows against concrete walls stained with decades of oil and secrets. It's the place rookies smoke when they think no one's watching. The place officers meet when they want a conversation to stay off the record. Tonight, it's not cigarettes that burn the air. It's the heat of old ghosts trying to stay. Alive. Collins stands near the back, hood pulled low over his uniform, phone clutched tight in his palm. He checks the door every few seconds, waiting for a text that won't come. The only message he needs is silence. He paces. Every step echoes like a nail in an old coffin. Upstairs, Lane leans against the new chief's office door, arms crossed. As always, eyes sharper than the city's cold wind. The chief sits behind his desk, flipping through a stack of files thicker than his wrists. Collins was Daniel's right hand, she says, voice flat. If there's dirt left to spread, he'll be the one to plant it. The chief doesn't look up. Good, let him come up for air. He closes the last file, stands, and slips his coat on slow. The way you do when you know a fight's already over, but the words haven't caught up yet. Lane straightens. Want backup? He gives her that same calm half smile that's been turning the precinct upside down for days now. No, he'll talk better if it's just me and the ghosts. Down in the garage, Collins lights a cigarette, the tip flaring bright in the shadows. He breathes smoke through gritted teeth, glancing at the stairwell door every few seconds. He doesn't hear the chief's steps until the man is right there. Coat collar turned up, eyes steady as iron under a flickering bulb. Collins stiffens, cigarette dangling from his lips. Chief. The chief gestures at the cigarette. Mind if I bum one? Collins blinks, tries to hide the twitch of his lip. He offers the pack with a grunt. The chief takes one, but doesn't light it. Just rolls it between his fingers. I hear you've been busy, the chief says. His voice doesn't echo. It lands heavy and soft, a blanket that smothers excuses. Collins shrugs. Don't know what you mean. You do, the chief says, calm as sunrise. He steps closer until the only light between them is the ember. On Collins' cigarette, I know about the files Daniel's buried, the chief continues, the hush payments, the calls to old lawyers, the whispers about me. I know you're the last knot he tied. Collins spits smoke to the side. So what? You think you can scare me? The chief shakes his head. No, I think you're already scared. I think you're waiting for the rest of his dirt to wash over you when you can't swim. Collins laughs once, sharp and ugly. This city loves a hero until they find out he's human. You think they'll keep you when they see your scars? The chief rolls the unlit cigarette in his palm, eyes locked on Collins. I'm counting on it, Collins scoffs. You really think standing out here, talking pretty, Makes you better than the rest of us? The chief drops the cigarette. Steps on it? No. But I never spat on a man for the color of his skin and called it protect and serve. Colin's smirk falters. The chief leans in close, so close. Collins can feel the chill in his words. You want out? Fine. Sign. Your paper. Walk away. But if you run, if you leak one more lie, I'll follow that trail to every back door you think you locked behind you. Collins flicks the stub of his cigarette. It sparks on the garage floor. You can't bury all the dirt. This building was built on it. The chief's eyes narrow, but his voice never rises. Then we tear it down, brick by brick, ghost by ghost. Outside the garage, the city breathes in the small hours before dawn. On the front steps of the precinct, the old woman with the scarf sits with a thermos in her lap. Next to her, the nurse from the last night hands out coffee and paper. Cups. The father with work boots stands with his daughter, holding her sign when her arms get tired. A squad car pulls up, headlights spilling across concrete. Miller steps out, coat slung over one shoulder. He nods at the little crowd, not big yet, but real. Living proof that eyes don't shut when the lights come on. Back in the garage, Collins pulls out his phone, stares at a single unsent message. Drop it all. Make him pay. He doesn't hit send. Instead, he pockets the phone, looks the chief in the eye one last time, and nods. Not respect, not surrender. Just a man who knows when the shadow he's hiding in has grown too thin. The chief watches him leave, then turns to the dark corners of the garage, half expecting another ghost to crawl out. None come. He steps into the night. His breath fogs the air. He doesn't smile, doesn't scowl, just breathes deep, calm as a man who knows tomorrow's war will be fought in daylight. The first rays of sun strike the precinct, windows like gold painted over grime. The city streets hum with the hush of early buses, coffee carts rattling open, kids chasing each other toward schoolyards not yet cracked by the heat. On the front steps, the new chief stands alone for a breath, his coat draped over one arm, his shirt sleeves rolled up. The badge on his chest catches the sunrise, a glint that used to mean fear to some, safety to few. Today, it's something else. A small podium waits for him at the bottom of the steps. Reporters shuffle around it. Microphones clipped to coats, phone cameras pointed up like weapons with no bullets. They don't shout questions yet, they just wait. The hush is heavy, charged. A live. Lane stands just behind him, arms crossed, lips sight with something like pride. Chun hovers near the door, half ready to bolt if a fight breaks out, half ready to stand beside the chief if it does. Miller leans against the railing, coffee in hand, nodding at familiar faces in the crowd, faces that used to flinch when they saw him in uniform, now just watching, judging, hoping he'll stand different than the last man who wore that shield. The chief steps up to the podium. He doesn't clear his throat, doesn't shuffle papers, doesn't bother with a prepared speech. His hands rest on the wood, steady as stone. You already know why you're here. He begins, voice even but sharp enough to slice the morning chill. You've read what happened in that parking lot. You've read what Daniels and men like him tried to hide. Cameras click, but nobody interrupts. Even the reporters hold their breath like they don't want to miss the next word. He gestures behind him to the open precinct doors. This building is not made of brick and badge alone. It's made of every lie it buried and every truth. It's silenced. That ends today. Lane shifts her stance, but doesn't look away. Chun lowers his clipboard. He won't write a single line of this down. He wants to remember it raw. The chief scans the faces in front of him. Some eager for a slip, some hungry for a headline. But most, the ones not holding recorders, just ordinary folks. A mother clutching her daughter's hand, A tired man in work boots from the night shift. A kid with earbuds out for once so he can listen for himself. I'm not here to ask for your trust, the chief says. I'm here to earn it, day by day, arrest by arrest, truth by truth. He lifts a single file, thin, battered, a relic from the records room 3 floors down. He holds it up so every camera can see. The faded name, Daniels T. This file is closed, he says, voice steady. He's gone. But this file, this name, is not the last ghost we dig up. We're tearing up floorboards until this house stands on clean ground or crumbles under the weight of what we find. A ripple of murmurs breaks through the press. Line, but no one dares cut him off. He sets the file down, palms flat on the podium. The badge on his chest catches the sun again. This time no spit dulls its shine. You deserve better than shadows, he says. You deserve better than apologies when it's too late. And every officer who stands behind these doors will know sunlight never lies. A hush settles again. Even the microphones feel smaller now. Behind him, Lane uncrosses her arms, stepping. Up beside him, not to speak, but to stand where she can be seen. Miller does the same, coffee gone cold in his hand, but he stays anyway. Chun slips through the open precinct doors, not running away this time, but holding the door wide. For the handful of rookies peeking out to see what truth sounds like, when it's spoken without fear, one reporter finally raises a hand. She's young, glasses slipping down her nose, notebook covered in scribbles she'll never read back the same way again. Chief, what happens now? He looks at her, really looks. The way he looked at Chun that first night, the way he looked at Daniels before stripping him of the lies he wore like armor. Now, he says, the ghost of a smile on his lips. Now we work. He steps away from the podium, ignoring the scatter of questions that flare up like sparks in dry grass. He doesn't answer. He doesn't have to doubt Lane matches his stride as they pass through the open doors. Miller falls in behind them, tossing his cold coffee in a bin marked recycling. Because some things deserve a second chance if you bother to do it right. Inside, the squad room hums with new energy. Desks cluttered with fresh files instead of stale excuses. Walls stripped of plaques with names no one dares speak anymore. Rookie straightens his badge in the cracked mirror by the lockers. For the first time in years, the reflection looks back with pride instead of fear. Outside, the small crowd doesn't leave when the cameras shut off. They stand together in the brightening sun, holding signs they made with borrowed markers and cardboard scraps. The mother squeezes her daughter's hand. The man in work boots checks his watch, ready for another shift but not yet ready to step away. The kid puts his earbuds back in, but the music can't drown out what he just heard, somewhere. Under the city's oldest floorboards, 100 old ghosts shift uncomfortably, knowing that daylight has finally come to stay.